When someone says reading and writing fill in the blanks questions is the one they find the most difficult in the exam, I agree. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks which are important to answer reading and writing fill in the blanks. And at the end, I will do one question as well to show you how you can apply these tips and tricks to answer these questions. If you're interested, keep watching. Okay, now I'm going to solve a few questions of reading and writing fill in the blanks which are available on our website. All of these questions are the actual exam questions, and I'll solve these questions. I'll try to explain them as well. And while doing that, I'll talk about the skills and tips and tricks I'm applying to answer these questions. So look at this first question here. Look at this first question here, question number 46. In this question, the first one is if government are right, and then after that there is a sentence. So my job here is to pick up the right word. I have 4 options here and I am supposed to pick one that makes the most sense in the given context. But how do I do that? One thing you need to remember is most of the times the questions are based on either the immediate context or the overall context of the passage. So what that means is some of the questions can be answered by just looking around the gap, and for some other questions it may not be possible to do that and you have to understand the overall context. Based on that, what I do is I first go through the options as quickly as I can for all the questions and answer as many questions as I can. But I also know that I can't answer all the questions in the first attempt. So what I do is once I finish all the questions at least one round, then I go to the questions that I could not answer previously and try to answer them. The reason for that is by doing this, I get a chance to have the overall context of the passage first, and then that helps me to pick up the right answer. But anyway, for this question, it says if government are right about 20 years from now. So this word here, 20 years from now, and this one here could be the future. These words are telling me that they're talking about some kind of prediction here. And that's why while looking at the option, that's what I will focus on. And here I can see the options are conclusions, announcements, statements, and forecast. Out of them, I know forecast is the word which means something about the future. And that's why I'm going to pick this one for this gap here. Now, what skill did I use here? Here, I simply used my lexical skill, which means my skill of vocabulary. Pearson often tests your vocabulary or often tests your understanding of commonly used academic words. In fact, for this, they often refer to something called academic word list, which is a list of around 570 words. This is a common list used by many other exams as well, and in case of Pearson also, they do the same thing. The only problem with the academic word list is Pearson also uses words which are not in the list. So in our case, what we have done is we have prepared our own academic word list, which we call modified academic word list. So what I have done with this list is I have gone through all the questions they have asked in the exam so far. And then based on the words I saw in those questions, and by comparing the words in the list with the words I saw in the exam, I have added a few words and deleted a few words from the list so that the list is now more appropriate for people preparing for PTE. So the first one, forecast. Second one will be occupancy. 5 households will be single occupancy. Why? Because single occupancy is a collocation. Now, what is a collocation? Collocations are the most natural combination of words which are commonly used by native speakers without even thinking about these combinations or order of the words in the combination. The only way we can learn about collocations is by going through the list of collocations which Pearson has provided, or by communicating with native speakers more often, or by going through English texts and materials as much as we can. Now, because of the nature of this exam and because of the reason we do this test, I think most of us will not have enough time to do that. So the best way to do this will be by going through the collocation list. So academic word list and collocation list. I'll provide the link to both of these documents in the description, so don't forget to check them. And if you need any help, you can just write in the comments. The third question here is, and there is evidence the situation is already. Now the situation is already, even before looking at the option, I'm getting a little um, clue here that something is going wrong. Now, how do I know it's going wrong? Because the passage starts by saying depressing and apocalyptic, which means something really terrible. And that means it is a negative situation. Now, when I look at the option, one thing that I immediately notice here is improving and relieving are positive words, whereas aggravating and deteriorating, these are negative words. It's very common in your exam for you to get options like this, where two options will be positive and two options will be negative. Whenever you see these kind of options, let's say you have not read the passage, you still do not have the context, but while looking at the option, you realize that some options are positive and some options are negative. It means Pearson is trying to test your understanding of the context, which means you need to figure out what is the context here, positive or negative. For that, you may have to read a little more, or you may have to read until you get the idea that this is a positive situation or negative. Since now I know this is a negative situation, improving and relieving are eliminated from my list, and I'm only focusing on aggravating and deteriorating. But the only problem now is, if I don't know meaning of these two words, most likely I'll have to make a guess. Although this time making guess is still a better option than making a random guess out of four, still there is a chance that I might guess the wrong word as the answer here. So how can I deal with a situation like this? If you find yourself in this situation often, that means you need to work on your vocabulary. You need to go through the academic word list, or if you are going to any particular institute or taking help from someone, ask them about the words which frequently appear in the test, so that you are prepared with the meaning of these words and you can answer the questions. Aggravate and deteriorate both mean the same thing, to become worse. But aggravate is used mostly with the problems. When the problems become worse than they were before, we use the word aggravate, whereas deteriorate is used for progressive worsening of the situation. So in this case, I'm going with deteriorating because that word means situation is getting worse. Now the last one here is, and yet while some are a crisis in our ability to make friends, others are saying. When I look at this sentence, I see yet in the beginning, which is used to connect to opposite kind of sentences. That means in this one, they are saying, others are saying exactly the opposite. So that means one sentence is others are saying exactly the opposite. That means people are saying something, while some are a crisis. That means these people are also saying something. These two people are saying something opposite, right? So that means the word I'm looking for here is a word which means to say something. And if I look at the options here, regret is not about saying, it can just be a feeling. Concentrate is an act, and annoying is more like feature of something which makes you irritated or annoyed. So declaring is the only word which means to tell something publicly, to tell something to someone. And that's why declaring is the answer here. So you have seen here, I have used three different skills here to answer these questions: collocations, academic word list, and positive and negative. Now, not just this, there are others as well. As an example, let's go to this question here. In this one, I'm going to use one more trick that I did not discuss in the previous question. So in this one, you can say it comes from many. That is the first question. Many tells me it's a plural word I'm looking for here. And when I read on, I see including being authentic and genuine, having integrity, and so on. So that means these are the things which are coming from this thing. And if I look at the sentence before it, it says, but moral authority does not come from simply managing people. So it does not just come from managing people effectively or communicating better or being able to motivate. It comes from other things as well. Other things which include this and more. Now, if I look at the list here, it says areas, sources, dimensions, and desires. Now, how can I make a choice here? All these words almost mean the same thing. It means a particular reason, a particular area. So when I look at the words like including being authentic and genuine, having integrity, and showing a real deep understanding, or in the previous sentence, managing people effectively or communicating better, I can see these are different sources, not dimensions, not desires or areas. So this is giving me the context to pick the word sources as the answer here, because these are all sources. These are not areas, these are not dimensions, and these are not desires. So in this case, the overall context of the sentence was the clue that I could apply to answer this question. And in the next one, all these build confidence. Could be combinations, facets, factors, and features. Which one do you think I should choose here? And the answer is factors, because combinations means mixtures, facets means sides, features means like the features, that the characteristics, and factors means the items or individual components. So here factors would be more sensible choice. These types of questions in particular can be difficult. So this is what we discuss in the class to help people understand how to pick the words here. The next one here says leaders lose moral authority for three reasons. They behave, they become plagued by self-doubt. So here I can see the context is negative. That's the first thing I always think of: positive, negative, and neutral. Then when I look at the options, what I see here is morally, unethically, splendidly, acerbically. Now I see morally and splendidly are positive words. So of course that cannot be the reason for someone losing moral authority, because something bad is happening, something negative is happening. Unethically, maybe, because that's a negative thing, that's opposite of ethically. Acerbically, so let's say that I don't know meaning of this word. What should I do here? When you are presented with a situation like this in the exam, focus first on words whose meaning you know and try them first. So here I know morally and splendidly are not the answers. Unethically is a possible answer. Acerbically, I don't know. I'll go with unethically here, because picking a word whose meaning I don't know is too much of a risk for me. And that's why I'll go with unethically. But for the matter of this discussion, the reason unethically is the correct answer is acerbically is when you are saying things rudely or in a very straightforward manner without thinking about other people's emotions. If I know the meaning, I can use this knowledge to answer the question. If I don't know the meaning, I should focus on the words whose meaning I know first. Again, acerbically is from the academic word list. So for those of you who have gone through the list, perhaps it will not be that difficult to make this choice. Lose self-awareness and thus lose, they must lose something good. Touch, connection, contact, communication. Now we have another problem. Lose touch, lose connection. Lose contact, lose communication. Out of these four, I think lose communication perhaps we can easily eliminate, because it would not make any appropriate sense in the context. Thus lose contact with those they lead as the context around them changes. Possible. Lose touch, possible. Lose connection, possible. Okay, here now the context is a little subtle. That's why it can be a little difficult. Here the sense is not actually being in a physical contact with someone or being actively involved in communication with someone. What it means is here they're trying to say that you don't understand what people are trying to say. You don't understand the situation. That is like losing touch with something, which means not being able to understand the reality, not having insight into the situation. So here, touch is a very good option and connection is also a very good option. Contact and communication, for the reason I mentioned, I'm not going to focus on. But touch and connection would almost be the same thing. So why would I pick one over the other? This is exactly where you can use another trick. In your exam, whenever you are presented with a situation where you see exactly similar words or words with the same meaning almost, and you have no idea which one to pick, always try to pick the word which is more formal. Here, touch and connection. Connection is a more formal word, and that's why I'm going to pick this one. This is PT academic test. Academic English is a subtype of formal English, and that's why in a situation where the overall passage is written in academic language, I must make sure that all the options I'm choosing are also academic. So this can be really useful. For example, let's say that you are given options like allow and permit. You should go for permit. You are given options like find and discover. You should go for discover. So another trick that you need to remember in addition to positive and negative is you are supposed to pick formal words, because the passage usually is formal and that's what you're supposed to pick. Then the last one here is it's up to them to buy a moral code. So which one should you pick here? Most of you perhaps will not be able to pick answer here if you are not aware of this collocation. The sentence I'm reading here with this missing word here actually contains a collocation. Abide by a code or abide by a rule. This is a very common collocation. So if I don't know that, No matter how many times I read this sentence and how logically I think, I'll not be able to answer the question. So basically, I went through a few things that you need to do before your next test if you want to do better in this question. First is you have to go through academic word list. And if you are our student, you have to go through the modified academic word list, which you can find here on the reading section. Fill in the blanks reading section, and here how to learn new vocabularies and important vocabularies for reading and important prepositional phrases for reading. These are the skills that you need to develop by going through these topics here. Second, you have to make sure that you have gone through the collocations. Again, Pearson has a list of around 2,500 collocations. When I went through these collocations, I found many of them were redundant. That means extra, unnecessary. And some of them were not even important for the exam. So I have prepared a modified collocation list that you should go through. Third thing is you should know that in situations where you've seen the options exactly opposite words, you have to know the context, whether it is positive or negative, and make your judgment accordingly. If you think that words have almost similar meaning, always go for the formal words. In addition to these two tricks, there are other three tricks which you can find in fill in the blank solve example 1 and 2 here. Please go through them as well. All these tips and tricks together will help you to understand how to answer these questions. Now, some of you I know are not enrolled in our course, so you might be wondering how can you have access to these things. In order to get access to these things, you can enroll in our course. You just go to the online course tab here. For that, I have included the link in the description, and then choose the course you like, and then you start preparing. Even if you are not planning to enroll, I hope some of the things I mentioned here were useful. And if you still are confused, you can write in the comments so that I can explain this to you. If you feel like I need to explain these types of questions even more, write in the comments, let me know, and I'll make another video answering these questions, doing these questions for you. At the end, what matters is whether you can answer these questions or not. And in order to answer these questions, you need skills, tips, and tricks. That's it for today. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, please write in the comments why you didn't like it so that I can work on those areas as well. And if you don't want to miss the updates from us, please subscribe to our channel. I tend to upload one video every week covering some important aspects of PTE. Until my next video, have a good time.